How much will new launch cost in 2025 and 2026? If you want to find out, stay to the end. You may have seen this article recently saying that MND pairs private housing land supply on H2 confirmed list, and you may be telling me, hey, is it called pairs or pars? So honestly, I also didn't know, so I went to Google and it says pairs. And what does it mean? Means they are actually bringing down the size of certain things. So means to say that back then, what they intended to launch was about 5,000 over units. They actually reduced it to slightly above 5,000, so about 400 over units lesser. And you may be wondering, as a consumer today, what should you be taking note of this? And today I'm going to share with you my own opinion based on my experience, what I think in 2025, 2026 will be the new launch pricing. And by doing so, right, I'll be putting this video into three major parts. First up, I'll give you a brief introduction on what is GLS and what you need to know about this. Secondly, I'll be sharing with you how I analyze the future pricing based on putting on the cap of a developer when they are bidding. And last but not least, I'll share with you the rundown of what will be the future pricing of 2025 and 2026 new launches in Singapore. So if you're someone like me who watches a lot of real estate videos before you make a commitment to any projects, right, do me a favor to like this video because it's going to help me a great deal. Thank you so much. If you're new to this channel, you may be wondering what is GLS. GLS basically means government land sales, and before the start of each half of the year, the government will release state land for tender through the URA sites, upcoming URA, GLA slide, and all these can actually be found on the URA site. And over here, right, this is an article by Property Guru once again. It's a 14 minutes read, but basically what you need to know is that you are able to see the information of the site clearly. It's all available. You can even download the site tender plan to check out what is the recommended layout plan of the entire plot. That means you can really predict how the layout of the whole condo will be like, meaning the blocks. And once the land sales is being done, you are also able to see each and every single bid, how much the developer bid, who is the developer, who joint venture together to buy. And over here, you can see how detailed is this. Holland Drive, you will be able to see a brief introduction of the area, exactly where how many units can be built. And using this information as an investor, this becomes like a crystal ball for you to see which area will actually have new launches and what will be the future pricing. In this video later on, I'll be sharing this with you. So in a nutshell, this is what government land sales is. And fun fact is that government land sales do not come to freehold properties. In case your mother owns a freehold property and tells you that, hey, you must buy freehold. New private freehold launches will only be available from en bloc sales because Singapore government has stopped selling freehold GLS for the longest period of time. And let me go and check. You cannot even find when was the last time the freehold GLS was done. There won't be any more freehold land sales by the government. Now, using this information, another thing you need to understand is why at the beginning of this video I said the prices of 2025 and 2026, because in Singapore, after a developer has bought a plot of land, they have 5 years to finish selling the entire project without incurring any ABSD. Second thing you need to take note of is that the developer will require a bit of time for them to actually launch their product. Typically for EC, right, you either have to finish your foundation completed before you can launch. If not, then you have to clear an 18 months wait out period before you can actually launch the development. And for new condos, right, typically the building plan will take between 12 to 18 months. 12 months is super fast really. Like for example, the recent Hill Heaven launched by Far East at Hillview Rise. Look over here, land sales was concluded in November 2022 and the launch was actually done in first quarter 2024. And how they're able to turn it around so fast is because for this development, they don't have a basement car park. Because when you have a basement car park, you require more time to plan and more time to obtain your building plan approval from the authorities. For another example, if you look over here for Lentor Gardens, Lentor Mansion, bought in 2023, April 13, and it was awarded in second quarter 2023 and it was launched in the first half of 2024, which is about 12 months period, depending on how fast the developer can actually obtain their building plan approval. So for those people that are lazy to get read, let me just show you briefly where are all the available land plots for the second half of 2024. This is actually the EC in Tampines. This one surely going to be hugely contested, expected to have quite a lot of bidders. So for those that are interested to know, Tampines Street 95 EC, this is very close to the Bedok Reservoir over here. I think this will be quite an attractive one because you're surrounded by a lot of the HDB, MOP area as well. Secondly is Faber Garden, Faber Walk. This area is actually at Clementi City near Park Clementes, right across the bus depot and across Park Rivera over here. We're going to be talking about this as well. Next, Lentor Gardens, the plot right beside Lentor Mansion over here. You'll be wondering, bro, so many plots already, you still want to launch? Yep, government is not going to stop. They're still going to have more GLS over at that area, but this I think is unlikely to be within 1 km to CHIJ St. Nick's. River Valley Green, beside the plot that was just acquired by Wing Tai Holdings in River Valley, the new MRT station. Media Circle, possibly I won't want to jump into that. Basically, it's just beside the new Media Corp over here. Not very near MRT station if I haven't remember wrongly, and there's also one more upcoming launch that is happening in this area already. So interesting plot to take a look at. Chuan Grove, right before the slip road to CTE, beside the new tech park over here, which is pretty close proximity to the upcoming Chuan Park, new launch by Kingsford. And Holland Link, this part very sad. Oh, this one very evil. You know why? Because this is actually close to my house, and the residents here are complaining that the road is very small and they still have one GLS over here. Let's see whether there are any bid. But this one, luckily not very near the MRT station, so we're not very sure whether who will be the first person to go and bid and contest for this. Last but not least, interesting place, Chencharu, right? I'll be glad to know why it's called Chencharu. Is it inspired by Chinchalok, the chili? Is it? Maybe? Don't know. Let me know inside the comments. Basically, this is right beside the auto where you used to go there and prawning and all these things. This is going to be the first GLS. Pretty reasonable distance to Khatib MRT station, but currently there's nothing over there, just a fishing pond over there in the park, beside a few blocks of HDB flat and school. So these are the upcoming new launches. Moving on, how do you predict the land sales price using facts and figures? Is basically the reverse engineering method. So first up, look at the price over there, put on the thinking cap of the developer. Today, what would be your targeted selling price based on surrounding comparative properties over there? Because today you need to remember, developers are also business people. They will also do their own comparative market analysis to see what is a fair value to sell. And they wouldn't want to price themselves out of the market by asking for too high. They will also not sell below the market value because they also need to answer to the board of directors in terms of their profitability. And using the expected selling price, you subtract 15%, which will bring you to the expected break-even pricing over there. And of course, it's up to you. If you think that the developers may want to sell a bit higher, then you subtract 20%. So if you subtract 20% from the targeted and fair selling price, you will get yourself the break-even price. And most of the time, for most developments, the land cost will constitute between 50 to 60% of the entire launch price. So if let's say you think that the developer is trying to sell at $2,000 per square foot, you minus 20% will land you as $1,600 PSF, and then you divide by 0.6 in order to get the expected per square foot per plot ratio of their development. It's a bit long, and I think some of you may already be lost halfway. So let me give you an example. Over here today, there's this Bayshore, and everybody loves Bayshore, right? Because finally you got another shot at seaside living, and this time around even better than the previous seaside residences because you got a shopping mall over here, and everything will be brand new. The last launch was Costa del Sol. It was super long ago. This is basically the last development you see when you're heading to Changi Airport on ECP. They are at the end already lah. But this area is actually very charming because you're very close to the ECP and also the famous East Coast Lagoon Food Center over there as well. And in this area, right, if you pull the map out, you're able to see that over here, Tanah Merah MRT, you actually have the Sinica residences. They are trading about slightly above $2,000 per square foot on average. There's also this Sky Eden over here. They're selling about 2,000 plus per square foot. But if you ask me, right, if you're the developer, would you price yourself against developments that are not offering you seaside living, or you will rather set a price range based on those that offer similar kind of lifestyle? Like for example, Seaside Residences is the last GLS that was done over there that offers you direct access to East Coast Park just through the underpass over here. And if you go to Seaside Residences on whichever portal that you wish to check out the pricing, the last transacted over here in May 2024, mid-floor 15th floor was already sold at $2,500 per square foot, and this is the latest transaction. And if you scroll down over here, you are able to see 2252 per square foot is actually the current pricing for Seaside Residences. It will launch 2 years later and your TOP 5 years later. So developer will also want to calculate the future pricing over here. If you use 2252 on average and you want to determine 5 years later what will be the accepted pricing in that area, you put 1.02 and you press equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So generally you'll be expecting consumers to be able to accept $2,486 per square foot launch price at that period of time. But before you shoot arrows at me and the haters start to type things on onto the comment section, right, you will tell me that Seaside Residences location is better because it is in District 15, a better district. However, it's debatable. Why? Because Bayshore will actually have a shopping mall, whereas Siglap don't really have any shopping mall around that area. So you win some, you lose some, and you tell me the mall can maybe compensate back the fact that Bayshore is in District 16 instead of District 15. And for this video, in order to be a little bit more conservative, let's use 1% inflation per annum. So 2252 times 1.01, and you click 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Expected safe launch price for the developer will likely be $2,366 per square foot. So 2366 times 0.8, assuming developers wish to go for a 20% profit margin, means to say that today you'll be expecting to buy with a break-even price of $1,892 per square foot. And this one look quite familiar. It will be quite close to Lentor plus a bit of premium over there. So 1892, and earlier on we say that the land cost usually make up about 55 to 60% of the entire value. So if you use 0.6, it will be expected at a land cost 1135. But of course, this is not what I'm predicting. This will be what I think the developers, this is the way they calculate. All in all, what I'm trying to say over here for developers is very straightforward. As us consumers buying property, emotion is always put into play, but for developers, they only look at facts and figures. Now, so much about calculating the land cost. Afterwards, as promised, at the end of the video, I will share with you what I predict will be the expected launch price of this GLS in 2025 and 2026. But before I move there, I just want to share with you one thing. Honestly, for me, I don't like to predict the eventual land price. Why? Because today for a developer, they buying the land at a lower pricing. Does it mean that they need to sell the property at a lower price? The answer is an absolute no. In fact, this becomes an opportunity for them to score greater profits for their shareholders as well. Just give you one latest example. So look at these Parkview Mansions and Lakeside Apartments. They are both side by side in Yuan Ching Road, and the en bloc was actually concluded in year 2022. Just 2 weeks difference. CEL Chip Hing Sing managed to actually get the other plot of land for a break-even price of about $200 per square foot per plot ratio lower than Lakegarden Residences. And during the launch, Lakegarden Residences actually clocked in an average PSF of about $2,100 per square foot. And many people were saying that, hey, look at Parkview Mansion, SORA. Lake Gardens can sell at $2,100 per square foot. Most likely, SORA will sell at $200 per square foot. Does it make sense? Of course it makes sense. But today, right, if you put yourself in the developer's shoes, will you do that or not? The answer is a straight up no lah. Why? Because not every plot you are able to buy it cheap. And if you bought it at a lower price, of course you try to aim for more profits. And lo and behold, this was what we were telling people last year in 2023. And SORA today, right, there's a news article by Business Times. It says that Xing-Ai-led joint venture will start preview for its new Jurong project, SORA, June 22nd at $2,100 per square foot. Oh, so just now you were looking at the land sales, $1,847 PSF, 2180 divided by 1847 PSF is a 20% profit margin. Could the developer have sold at $200 per square foot cheaper than Lakegarden Residences? Of course they can, if they are aiming for the similar profit margin. But did they? No. Why? Because developers are business people. And if you look at over here, another example, Lentor Modern versus Lentor Hills Residences. Lentor Hills actually was sold with a break-even price of $100 over per square foot cheaper than Lentor Modern. But look over here, 2123 versus 2109 is barely $20 per square foot difference. So it just proves to say today, as a property investor, look at what is the current market value and what is the fair selling price in this current market, and try to predict what will be the developer's asking price later on. That should be the launch price instead of using the land sales bid per square foot per plot ratio. So as promised, here is the expected launch price for the year 2025 and 2026 based on these 10 confirmed sites. And I hope you learned something today. As usual, like, comment, subscribe, turn on notification bell because we post weekly real estate videos like this. Also consider joining our Telegram chat to get the latest real estate news. Or if you need any advice on the new launches that you are selecting, and there are so many of them, you are trying to think whether this one suits you or not, I'm just a phone call away. Thanks for watching to the end. See you at the next one. Bye.